남체 참여를 상대 뭐 다만 보고 또 상징. 다음부터 로 개발한다. 신일이 무슨 로 요구한다. 내년에 이 다음으로. 이 소소로들이 차려. 다다다는 것이 제일 말이야. 이 그것도 안 모르겠야. 강의들이 별이야. 나 아마도 그거는 싫어. 그거 새끼 맡아봐 싫어. 그만 다들 싫어요. 이제 요리감이 싫어요. 야. 올해 남자 참이게 올해 개바 코로나 처에 잘 오마래 문제 수능 때도 딱 봐야 왜냐고 심지 담지를 쏘 이제 봐 제라도 뭐 제도 봐 그랬다 요자가 하라 되고요 야좀 그때 되고요 그래서 개를 조제를 되는 것도 올해 아유 좀 많이 배쳐와리 좀 다른 것들이 같이 오래 많이 받아도 그 많이 배쳐와 그런 남체 참여 실바 요는 가마 가기만 쳐요
And then the Buddha has taught that there is also no certainty regarding age when we are going to die. Some people may think that, people die when they are old, now I'm young, I will still be alive. But we cannot think like that. Many sentient beings are dying at any type of age, and young age, in old age. Some beings die already in the stomach of their mothers. Some beings die as soon as they are born. Some beings live a little bit and are dying when they are very young. So it is not sure that we will be alive until we are very old. Some people who have great merit of protecting or giving life, for example, they have a very long lifespan, and some of them may say for 100 years or so, or even longer. That is the result of virtuous action. But many other sentient beings are suffering an untimely death. Some very few sentient beings are liberated from an untimely death. They are free from an untimely death. But many other sentient beings, they have to die earlier, before they get really old. So there is no certain time that we can know we will die. We can die as soon as we are born. We can die when we grow a little older. We can die in the middle or in the end. There is no certainty of when the time of our death has come.
내 가르쳐 걸. 그 살렸지 뭐. 어디서 본 거래. 오래. 저거 지금 뭐 만나 보여래. 아니 어디서 보나? 다 좋은데 이제 마당하는 지에서 말할때 저와는 다른 거거든. 뭘 먹고 쏘는 거야. 저와도 뒤에 가르쳐 거든. 저와 뒤에 다른 게 있네. 저도 가르쳐 또 무슨 선 보고 또 오래 상승 보고 또 여기와 빵 먹어도 여기와 뚝 먹어도 그러나 저와를 지금 여기와 날에도 저와를 지금 여기와 날에도
Jiwa telah dapat didapati di sampul di. Kadang ada meeting cuma sama yang mereka simpan kali.
Tata cuma tanya tujuh, ya semua tahu lah. Jebal sini loh.
Ya.
Tata cuma di nampak macam apa isu dia soal lah, apa isu dia ni. Jadi satu besar lah, jadi apa isu. Besar nampak tu kan dua belas. Besar nampak tu kan dua belas, tak jebak tu. Tata ni, saya tu kan ni boleh orang. 남는 또 좀 봐야 돼. 좀 살았어. 작세지는 말하래 잡아서 걸어와. 아무나 잡아서 오는마. 아무래도 갈아 잡서 줄어서 갈아 잡서만 하주나. 이제 많이 좀 살았네. 그래서 때 쇼와 다르게 쇼와 기는 다르게 걸어와.
And next is the contemplation on the many causes that can cause our death. When we think about what all can cause our death, there is many poison or wild animals, enemies or weapons or the four elements. We can drown in water, be burned up by fire, die in wind and earth and so forth. There's many outer circumstances that can harm our life, that can terminate our life. So we all are aware of them, we all know about them, but we need to think about them over and over again. We need to internalize them over and over again. Now, when we are thinking that, maybe that will not directly hit me, there is no benefit, because who knows what karma one has accumulated previously. We cannot know. So what we need to do is we need to prepare for our death. We need to think about our death, like Milarepa has taught. He has taught how we need to prepare for our death. Whether there is food, do not think there is food in your next life. It depends on your generosity, whether you practice generosity or not. Do not, like there is no sun and moon in your next life. It is the luminosity, the sun and the moon is the luminosity of your own awareness of Mahamudra. So this is what we need to mainly understand, we need to prepare for our death, and for that we need to cultivate love and compassion, abandoning non-virtuous actions and practicing virtuous actions. This is how we can prepare for our death. For each thought that we spend on death and impermanence, practice another virtue. So there is an infinite amount of causes that can, or circumstances that can cause our death. There's many harmful circumstances to our life, and even a life-sustaining circumstance can be transformed into a life-terminating circumstance. For example, eating food. Eating food is generally a life-sustaining circumstance, but if the food is not suiting our body, it can also transform into a life-terminating circumstance. So therefore, there are very many circumstances that can cause our death, and there are very little circumstances that sustain our life. This human incarnation is very precious, but also it can be harmed very easily. There are many circumstances that can harm that precious human incarnation. So there are many circumstances that can cause our death, and there are very little circumstances that sustain our life. There are very many examples on this in the scriptures that I give you now a short introduction to. It is, in the best case, you would look yourself in the books, in the texts, and read those illustrations. Just recently, I had an interview, and that person asked me questions about what the person has read in the words of my perfect teacher to clarify. I have read this, so can you clarify that? So that is very helpful if one is reading oneself in those scriptures.
우리 세트사 오래 차 이만도 있게 요래. 이 양당 양주 비인 거 그러네.
And then we contemplate the impermanence of holy beings, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that have appeared, that have taken on a human form. They all have had to pass into parinirvana. They all had to die. Even our Buddha Shakyamuni, he also passed into parinirvana. Great accomplished masters and great scholars, all of them have died. Milarepa has left his body. So observing this, we should think, this is really impermanence. Then very powerful, very strong beings, all of them have died, even if they have been as powerful as a Chakravartin king, a universal monarch. Also that one has to die. This life has to be terminated. There has never ever been a single being who has not had to die. So when we contemplate that, we should gain certainty in our mind that impermanence is, it is really true, and it is something that we need to contemplate again and again.
이 사제 제 단계마다 강연을 이 르디 앞에는 꼭 용화 예디가 위장 셈이가 제 마음보죠. 공부다라 그래. 제 마음보. 이제가 이쪽으로 이쪽 맞춰가지고 원래 식도요가 원래 단계마다 봐. 내가 뒤에 따다다 앞에는 또 이걸 돌아지는 거야. 따다다 배나가 편수를 라마게의 힘이 나자, 정말 공지에 나자, 호가의 정답이 나자, 부모에 나자, 제라도 상식을 이걸 도와주나요. 제가 예상게, 다음은 딱 와요, 이봐요. 다음은 제가 오거든요. 이거 우리 sambil loading나, 다음은 딱 봐라, 딱 버리지나. 제 당시 뭐다 봐 마시나. 나는 이거 마셔봐도 보고 있으면 제대로 이 마시가 내가 와서 다 보고 나도 제가 저도 제방은 저기 동행이 정도 그래. 별로 다 봐도 돈이 싫어. 당연히 별로 이제 당신 다 봐도 감에서 이게 마음이 많이 오래서 여기다 가정 상태, 가정 있었다고 그러나, 내가 마음마다 70, 저 성별로 봐도, 인가의 리가 기준이요, 말이에요. 재미로 강의, 가봐도 이 맛에 매서도 오빠다 말해서, 동이, 내가 요즘, 동이 치고라요, 말이에요. 다 말이 하고 그러나. 빼지도 뭐다 말이 내가 뭐 피받치고, 이렇게. 마치는 동네 쪽으로 몰라.
So the Buddhas also and all compounded phenomena are impermanent. Our body that is composed of the four elements, which has a temporary connection to the mind, it is disintegrating, it is dissolving, it is in the nature of impermanence. If one of those components starts missing, it immediately will disintegrate. So it is in the nature of impermanence. And then also outer circumstances like our friends, even our own teacher, our own Lama, monks, families, all males and females, we grasp at them to have some permanence, like when we have a partner and we think, we will stay together for the rest of our life. We grasp at it to be something permanent. That is just grasping of impermanent things to be permanent, thinking that, oh, we will be together until the time we die. But then one day, through the power of karma, some outer circumstance strike us, and that separate us, and that transforms into anger, and then that transforms into great suffering. So, if you have an understanding, then you know that all compounded phenomena are impermanent, their nature is impermanent, and where do they arise from? They arise from own actions, the working of karma, cause and effect, which is infallible. Whatever it may be, our own surroundings and houses, we should not have any doubt or any hesitation, question whether they are staying permanent or not, because it will disintegrate, it will go out of existence. That is the nature of impermanence. When we have an understanding of that, then that will also give us temporary great benefit, because if we do not have an understanding of that, it can create a lot of suffering. So as the Buddhas have always taught us in terms of practice, the more we accumulate, the more we are wishing for. However much money we are, for example, accumulating, be it $10, $100, $1,000, and so forth, we are fixated on that number of the money. We have a very strong grasping to its reality. Somebody who has less grasping to a self, for example, would understand that all phenomena are impermanent, that right now I might possess some money, but when I die, who knows what will happen. It should happen for the benefit of others, give it to other sentient beings, it should be distributed and used in a good way. This is for somebody who has not a very strong self-grasping. For somebody who has a very strong self-grasping and does not understand impermanence, he might say, living in a house and sharing that house with somebody, for example, he would say, oh, this is my house and I live in this house, and one day maybe those two parties get into an argument and they start fighting. So who knows whether we will always stay here where we are. There's really no independence. It is in the nature of impermanence. And if somebody who has an understanding of that knows, oh, right now we are living together in this house and we are our friends, but who knows what will happen. Right now it is best not to get into any arguments and to practice bodhicitta and patience, not getting angry at each other, conducting oneself well. And when we then have to die, when our death has come, then we know that having a good heart, we will not fall into the lower realms. We have an understanding that the day of separation will come and it will be fine, because we had an understanding of impermanence. For somebody who does not have an understanding of impermanence, and when separation has come, that person has to undergo inexpressible suffering from that separation. So it is now for us a really great benefit, even temporarily, to have an understanding that everything will come to a separation. We will separate from our friends and families and houses, and we will separate from everything. Everything is in the nature of impermanence. It is karma that is principle, and over that we have no independence.
야, 제가 받아서 다음날 용을 갖다 있나야? 네, 지요 말에 마음을 예받았죠. 그다. 마음을 예받았다고 찾게 하시라. 대단한 소소지 들이 위치로 착바시만 매와 찾았어. 아까 내가 감지 봐요. 나라. 조금씩 좀 나서 좀 매도다. 약간 매도돼 다다 오늘이야. 참 남치 잘못 거기 오면 거기 매도 니말 차서 되는 매도 매도 잡아는 기요만 매도 잡아나선 니말 차서 되는 소수를 소소 잡아 잡아내. 제가 놀러도 당겨서 가는 거네요. 너 잡아요. 좀 챙기 좀 맞춰야 돼. 나발에 놀러도 요런 족발 잡아시 밤에 내 밤에 가서 나서는 유바메요. 진리를 유지. 그러다 세비도 되게 싸고 당다 거래. 마다바 집에 용기다 맞지. 저는 되는 거구나. 마다바 줄 지나 드메요. 마다바 줄 맞지. 드메 치고 그래. 그래서 하고 제대로 마다바 만 보시면 될 필요도 없어 하고 와.
So in brief, where does impermanence arise from? We are getting attached, our minds are getting attached to samsara. We have a strong grasping. We are holding on to happinesses, to bliss and happiness in samsara. For example, we are getting attached to our own body. I'm looking in the mirror and I'm seeing my own face and think, I'm so beautiful and so attractive. There is no one more beautiful than me. So we get very attached and very arrogant about our own appearance. So that is being attached to one's own body. But having an understanding of impermanence, one would think, oh, this is impermanent, this is in the nature of change. I can see now around me older people, also I will grow old, also I will lose my beauty, I will become just a normal, an old person. So that is a method to decrease the attachment that we have to ourselves. We need to have trust and a strong conviction that it is in the nature of impermanence, and that will decrease our attachment. And Jigten Sungen has said the most beautiful summer flower will wither and grow old in the winter as the weather grows cold. So a young, a beautiful flower will grow old and it will wither later on. So therefore there is no need to get attached to one's body, or secondly, getting attached to one's possessions. Keep in mind that it is in the nature of change and it is impermanent. We may now have the opportunity to enjoy our possessions, but we shouldn't get attached to them, we shouldn't long for them. It is alright to enjoy them, but it also must be okay to lose them. That is the qualities of having internalized impermanence. When one has not internalized impermanence in one's mind, then one will experience great suffering. But if one has internalized impermanence in one's mind, then one will not have to undergo those sufferings. So it is a great thing that there is a great benefit in contemplating impermanence.
똑같이 뒤에서 보면 성은 세다. 좋은 눈이 잘와 도자나. 보고 손들이 바카 잡아는 통나. 니네 동생이 좀더 모르다.
그래다.
니도 기도를 듣고 나니 대화요야. 아, 체험마도 보고야. 체험 나와도 보고야. 아, 체험마도 보고 버리다. 니 개참만 볼라고 해라. 내 담으라. 니도 작작작으로 파악하려고 척대려고 그래. 그럴 때는 야, 내가 어디나 내가 등이 문제 내장 차지 지내도 내가 써는 때는 소속을 나와서 동네야. 통화 이름마다 와시노. 아니 내가 좀 뭐래. 좀 잘, 내가 이거 못 봤지. 최고 주제 나와리고 말이야. 다 틀리마다 말이야. 님이 내가요 하고 말이야. 남이 저도 못 봤다고 좋았지나. 님만 저를 가서 숨었다. 얘가 인상을 봐. 대만이야. 로 줬다고 조만 있었다고 냠벌 대니까. 덮고 두고 안 보여요. 여는 빨리 맞으러 가거나. 때와 제담 요구하지. 제담은 여기. 다른 소를 쓰는 이때는 다 때와 제담을 받아. 소소. 남은 자리 세상 때와 근데 잘 동네다 동네 그 도가 되잖아. 저기 동네 당고 대와 지보이는 거 같은 저 동네니까 거기로 했으나 인간 아니야 요 말이 때문에 sempre 끼끼끼는 저쪽으로 요래 내가 또 봐 마음도 봐 녀만들 끼래라 또 봐 해지만 보는 저쪽으로 요래 이 내용들 박차야 됐다면 저쪽으로 요래 이치요 말이 싸움잖아 이치 매래야 이치 요자 떼까 떼와 앞에 좀 떼와요 봐도 떼와니 떼와요네 떼와 기다고 쉽게 탐지해 보고 저도 뭐래 정말 쉽게 탐지도 보고 뭐 해봐요 말이야 남도 내놔야 떼와요 남도 마대는 떼와는 아무리 싸우는 거 떼와들라 이거 봐고 홀로 떼와지나 이게 다 좀 이겨 또 대리 싸우잖아 뭐가 아파시나 니 너희 좀 그려 말아 때 마시라 로니시다 나도 대바지 대화치다 고소를 좀 따도 얘기 좀 주고요. 지금은 싸움이야 보통 그렇게 심한 보러가 오 그게는 뭐 나도 제일 이제 가가 좀 고소를 주고요. 내가 나와도 진짜 좀 나와서 이거 좀 뭐래요. 내가 거로 싸우다 아까 이렇게 시스템만에 고소라서 봐. 대학에 올라와면 내일이 있었던 직접 고소로 가봐. 내가 싸우고 진짜입니다. 대고 싸우고 딴 거 해야지.
Also, Thigten Sumgön has said that everybody who meets will separate at some point. So we meet with somebody who we have great love for, and we say, I only love you, and that person says, and I only love you. So we receive the answer that we are, we say to that person, and then we receive the corresponding answer in return. So even though we say that, even though we say we are staying together forever and we love each other, still we have no power, no impermanence over the nature of change. Still it is temporary, and we do not know when the outer circumstances will arise and our previous karmas that we have accumulated will arise and will change everything. So we need to understand that even those are just temporary, those relations, they are just temporary occurrences, circumstances. We have no power, no independence over its change. When the karma has come, it will change, and we do not know our past karmas. But one day, the day of separation will come. Even if we're staying together with our partner for 10, 15 years and we have children together, still when the karma has come, the day of separation has come. And then when we have no understanding of that, then love will transform into anger, and that will bring about great suffering. And the other person will become even worse than our worst enemy to us. It will transform into great suffering. First we experience bliss and happiness, then we experience the suffering of change when that is suddenly transforming into anger and hatred, and then we are experiencing the suffering of suffering. So we need to understand that our loving mind is changing from moment to moment. The mind of the past and until the mind of the future is constantly changing in every moment. It never is the same. Our karmas, our imprints, they are in the nature of change. So we need to have confidence in the fact of everything being in the nature of change. And the only thing that we need to practice is true, sincere love towards other sentient beings. Love is something that every sentient being needs. And we all have been our friends and our dear ones in some other life. So therefore, we need to cultivate the cause, which is bodhicitta, love, compassion, concern for each other. Then it will not transform into a cause of suffering. But if we do not have an understanding of that, if we cannot cultivate unconditioned love for sentient beings, then it will transform through the nature of change into anger and will become the cause of great suffering. So I would like you to consider this very well. We need to understand that whoever we meet, we will have to separate from. It is the nature of karma, and we have no independence over it. So consider this and it will be of great benefit for this life and for our future lives to come. Consider that everything is under the law of karma, and we have no independence over what will happen to us. So therefore there is no need of giving rise to aggression and anger. Cultivate a good heart, and that will be a great benefit for the next life. So now that we have obtained a precious human incarnation with its 18 freedoms and advantages, it is very good explained in the 37 practices of the Bodhisattvas, where it says in the beginning, now having obtained this very difficult to obtain precious human incarnation endowed with all its freedom and advantages, use it to practice continuously day and night, because that precious human incarnation is the very cause to actualize Buddhahood, to gain enlightenment. Now, temporarily, our mind is connected to this body, temporarily that mind is connected to the body, and that human precious incarnation serves as the cause for actualizing Buddhahood. Now, that body that we have, it is called the illusory body. It is consisting of the 5 elements of the 5 elements, and when we are transforming that, looking at its true nature, we realize that these 5 elements are in the nature of the 5 goddesses. Also, our 5 afflictive emotions are actually in their true nature the 5 primordial wisdoms, If one understands that, one will perceive all forms to be divine. Now, we have our illusory body, which is our cause for establishing or bringing about the Nirmanakaya. Outwardly, it seems that we are consisting of the elements of flesh and blood and bones and air and so forth. In their true nature, though, they are the 5 goddesses. We have Buddhahood established on our ground, but it is just like a flower that has not blossomed yet. So it is our body which is in its immature state, or in the immature state. If the body is in its mature state, if it has fully ripened, it is in its true nature, the Nirmanakaya. Its true nature is pure. Temporarily, the body, our whole being, is impure. Temporarily, we are defiled and we are afflicted. We have afflictive emotions. In its mature state, it is the Buddha. In its immature state, it is a sentient being. Just like an apple that is ripe or an apple that is unripe. An unripe apple nobody would eat. You would just throw it away, just like falling into the lower realms. This unripeness makes us fall into the lower realms. Now we need to use this human incarnation to train in methods that ripen ourselves. So we are ripening our body through the generation stage yoga. We are ripening our speech through the recitation of mantra, and we are ripening our mind through bodhicitta, love and compassion. That's why we have said you need to practice day and night. You need to apply yourself to practice at all times. Even when you go to sleep, remember the hidden deity, recite the Mani mantra. Day and night, use it to practice remembering death and impermanence. Having obtained a human incarnation which is very precious, and being aware that this human incarnation is in the nature of change, impermanent, it will die. There's a great need to practice immediately, to practice swiftly.
왕은 된다. 안 돌려. 근데 아도는 산이들 시비가거든요. 나한테 뭐라고 살라서 봤으니 시바다 제밤에 봐 매형들이 시완 무슨 아도로 두고 그러나 그 플라이당 제일 나와샤는 아도는 왕 왕고 타마더니 저 지완이 비노야 사족성 뭐지 비인들 아마 좋아하죠. 전지 비밀이야 지완이 비요. 왕고 타마 지완 이야. 소 능들이
니소
니소 능다 아무 줄
And if one is a practitioner, in the best case, one will gain liberation in this very lifetime through cultivation of bodhicitta in one's mind stream and defeat of all defilements, afflictive emotions. In the middling case, a middling practitioner would gain liberation in the pardo after death has come. We usually lose our consciousness completely, and in that state, when one wakes up in the bardo, that person would recognize the deity as visualized in the generation stage. The deity would appear and the person would gain liberation. And in the worst case, a practitioner would again take rebirth, take another body, but in the following life would encounter the holy Dharma and would remember the precious bodhicitta. And then there are many different ways he or she can gain enlightenment, either within 2 lives, 3 lives, or 7 lives.
제가 과보라 제대로 도와드라 사자집을 동소 주나 저기 노디타고 뭐 노디타고 뭐 세우들은 철 끼와가 파쇼하면 끼셔면 동도 불러요. 저 앞에 뭐 하고 오늘 용만도 좀 저 앞에 불리는 좀 그러나 제로 와면 좀 물론이야. 제가 왕보라 사자집을 동소 제대로 도와서 왕은 다돌 도와드라 다다는 속에 사회 담력이 제와 이러면서 일이 잘 오구나. 사회 말이지 다돌 도와준다니 그러나 이 말하면서 이 투구를 썼으나 이 다돌이 제맘에 와서 나오는지 최신 투구로서 바로 담보니 산자의 햇볕에서 담고 파란이 크기 그 제맘에 와 자고 저기 세마다 따오는 것이에요. 공자의 생각을 주시더니 걱정하더니 저 세마다의 주시가 세력을 이 세마다는 나도 이제 다 맞고 봐. 나는 주시 봐요. 세트나 대양되니 바로 보는 거인데 왕을 한 보상에서 올라 모든 거
Tiang Mamburapre. Tiang Mamburapre. Tidin mana-mana. Nanti Wang Budin yo mana-mana. Wang Budin. Wang Budin. Wang Budin.
jadi yang itu saya baru dia semua juga sampai dia wang apa saja center kawasan jadi baru tampon
So for those of highest mental faculty, in the best case, for those practitioners who realize the profound meaning of Mahamudra in this life, attain the state of Vajradhara, they have realized the meaning of the non-existence of birth and death. They have understood non-death, and they will gain liberation either in this lifetime or in the first Pardo, the first state of Pardo. That is when, just like when one is falling asleep and waking up instantly through constant mindful awareness, and the Yidam deity that one has practiced will appear to one in that instant, because there has been an uninterrupted stream of mindful awareness. So these will realize the Dharmakaya, actualize Buddhahood in the first Pardo. So if one is of highest mental faculty, one will either gain enlightenment in this very life or in the first state of Pardo. And then for the people or practitioners with mediocre mental faculties, they recognize first they fall in an unconscious state, like falling asleep, and then immediately again it's like waking up and concepts are arising, and in that second moment that person thinks of practice and recalls the visualization of the Yidam deity, like has been visualized from a picture, like a tanka, the form of the deity arises. So in the same way, when we are remembering in that state of the Pardo, when we can remember the Yidam deity in that state, and when it arises, just like we have visualized it in our generation stage yoga practice, then a consciousness will be transferred into a pure realm. So depending on generation stage yoga practice and bodhicitta, a practitioner of mediocre mental faculties will gain enlightenment in the Pardo state. So if we are well prepared, then even if I were to die tomorrow, I would have no fear. Just like Milarepa has taught, if we are well prepared, there's no fear, there's no need of fear. So therefore, remember death over and over again. Remind yourself through reading the verse in the 37 Bodhisattva practices, where it says that do not get attached to any of your wealth or your possessions, your body and your house and so forth, because your consciousness will just leave the guest house of the body. There is no essence to holding on to this life. So therefore, contemplate death and impermanence. And I would like you to think about that there is really no essence to be found in our body, in our houses, in our possessions. We are not our body, so consider this well. And for this evening, we will stop here. It is important that you study them very well and that you reflect, ponder, and meditate over them. If it is a Buddhist practice, a Buddhist Dhamma practice, it needs to have 3 criteria complete. First of all, we need to listen to the teachings. That is like having a fruit, and we first hear this fruit. When you eat this fruit, it tastes very good, and also it is very good for your body. So first you hear that, and then secondly, one needs to experience it. One actually needs to eat the fruit and experience its taste, and then you think, oh, it's true, it is really tasty. And then in the end, as a third point, one needs to realize the true benefit of the fruit. Then you have trust, your faith that this fruit actually is a great benefit for your body. In the same way, through these 3 steps, we are realizing the meaning of Dharma. We first need to hear about it, then we need to experience it, and in the end we need to realize it. We need to have those 3 features complete as practitioners. If one only gets a little taste of it and does not continuously ponder over it, one will not realize the true nature of samsara. Now we are contemplating the suffering ocean of samsara. It is truly indeed not a happy state, and we need to ponder over this over and over again until we have realized that samsara truly is not a happy state, and as a result we have gained conviction and the realization in that fact. So today we will cover the point karma, cause and effect. The very root of Buddha's teachings, Buddhist teachings, is the two truths. It is the conventional truth, which is an understanding of the incontrovertibility of karma, cause and effect. And secondly, it is the ultimate truth, which is the realization of emptiness. First and foremost, one needs to realize the conventional truth. One needs to realize how karma works. If one does not realize that first of all, then there is no way one can realize ultimate truth or emptiness. So depending on an understanding of karma, one realizes ultimately emptiness. And if one has realized emptiness, then one has gained the state of enlightenment. Therefore, in the beginning, in order to come to that state, we first need to train in conventional truth, that is, an understanding of the workings of karma, cause and effect.
류라 차가는 지금 동님 이와다다 류 공수 부동 소파도 이거는야 난 샘지라 눈이 아 다다를 참 속보지 오 류라 나사로 말이 또 이거 반대로 요리 아 참아 이거 양 세거든 아단 타고 도착 제단 맞지 타고 해야지 쓰는 눈에는 담아 원래 나참 카카도 다음 주에 저는 아빠 찍고 왔지. 그냥 난 생겼던 거예요. 그래서 저한테 오, 저거 이게 신고로 또 제보를 보고 뭐든지. 유머 보고 하면 난 생겼던 거예요. 그래서 다 나타나는 합야 즐거운 것도 인주제 그거예요. 나중에 가시에는 됐다고. 해당적으로 보면서 대단한 차도고는 나는 물리는 못이다. 나는 안 돼. 얘도 남생이 보면도 봐. 오래. 설을도 하는 좀 남생이 좀 해주자. 오래.
The Buddha has said that all the sentient beings inhabiting the 6 types of transmigration, their source, their nature is in the nature of suffering. We are experiencing various types of suffering. Let's only take a human incarnation. Even in a human incarnation, we are experiencing great sufferings. We are mainly experiencing the suffering of birth, old age, illness, and death. We also experience physical sufferings like heat, cold, hunger and thirst. Or even if we are rich and even if we have everything that we need physically, we are suffering mentally. Some people may be very rich and they may have everything in the physical realm, but still inside their minds they are experiencing mental afflictions. And they are suffering. They have the mental afflictions of attachment and aversion, jealousy, pride, ignorance. We are constantly suffering from those mental afflictions. And even though we may possess all the wealth, still couples split apart. People who are very rich commit suicide. They all come from our mind, from our own afflictive emotions. Like when we are having a physical illness, for example, then we can get an injection or some treatment. But now having that mental illness, like being very angry and being very jealous, really we ourselves are destroying our precious human incarnation. So that is to say that even though we may have all physical abundance, still inside mentally we are suffering.
Today we talk about they are the same. Much account the project, much that you put in your water. They are the project to clear it. They are to drop me like that. Wrong way for the way around me by your glory. Or the way the coming number not so. Wrong way for one thing. You glory. So you want to move up. None or there's a packaging part, there are sort of Chadam motor to part of the last of doing something with Japan. You will already. Sorry. You would get it. Can't you sit in the hot oh. Oh, Mr. Tata, oh, my. Oh, besides the is. Oh, poor baby to me. Poor baby to me. Poor baby to me. The way the man I saw you like that. Simply told the way she was a tip about your money. He can't let it. The way she was a tip. The way either moment, either moment, no, it is.
So all our sentient beings, we are engaging in great efforts to bring about happiness. We are very diligent and we try very hard to make it as comfortable and as happy as possible in this lifetime. But even though we are striving for that aim, without any independence, without any choice, suffering will strike us. It will just happen. We will experience hardships and difficulties without any independence, without choice. Either we will be harmed from the outside through the elements, or from the inside through our own afflictive emotions, attachment, aversion, ignorance, those which lead to quarreling and fighting. So we are experiencing inconceivable suffering. No one knows the causes for those suffering. They happen. So we are having suffering saying, oh, I suffer because I don't have enough money, or I suffer because I don't have children, or I suffer because I don't have a wife, or I suffer because I don't have a husband. So there's many different sufferings that we have to undergo through. But we need to understand that in the end, there's only one suffering. It is something that we do not want. It is that unattractive thing that we try to keep away from us. So there is, in fact, only one ultimate suffering. So for example, if there is a few people that we are seeing from the outside, we cannot see those people suffering. That is inside the mind of the person. From the outside it may seem the person has everything, has food and so forth, but in the inside, who knows whether that person is happy or whether that person is suffering? We cannot know it. Yesterday we have discussed the infinite amount of sentient beings that are existing throughout the 6 types of transmigration. There are as many sentient beings as there are particles of dust. They are all over, they are all pervasive. And there is an infinite amount of suffering. But the Buddha, who is all-knowing, has said in the root there is only one cause for that suffering, and that is said very clearly in the 37 practices. All suffering without exception comes from wishing for one's own happiness. So the root of all our suffering is self-clinging. So the Buddha has known that the root of all our suffering is our self-grasping attitude.
마스로 셉티 탐제 사제 쪽에 좀 셉티는 상지 셉티 탐제 셉티 좀 뭐지 상지 네 얘네야 나디다 저처럼 또 저는 자동차를 차네 딱 나디게 맞아라 이 류들이 자동차는 싫어요. 류셔를 셈셔도 그래요 말이야. 셈셔는 나디게 마셔라. 오, 이거 나디가 내 자다서 류지했다. 노아를 가능한 콜라 이렇게 머리 콜라를 딱 콜거도 원래. 이 콜라지 혼자 진짜 슬로우 같은 야요 말이야. 걔는 콜을 잡고 치는 거. 얘는 콜 따와서 나디가 맞잖아. 셈도 상지에 이놈. 그래. 동의 용어로 했잖아.
And the Buddha has said that all sentient beings do possess Buddha nature, Buddha essence. On their basis, on their minds, they are the Buddha. But for as long as they are not separated from self-grasping, they are just like wandering about in the 6 types of existence over and over again. As long as we are not separated ourselves from self-grasping, our bodies may die over and over again, but our mind, the consciousness, is not dying. So until we have eliminated our self-grasping, we are accumulating actions depending on self-grasping, and depending on those actions, we are wandering about in the 6 types of transmigration over and over again, like a wheel that is of a car that is constantly turning. So this ocean of samsara is indeed vast, and its root is self-grasping. If we separate ourselves from self-grasping, then our mind is the Buddha. But if we do not separate ourselves from self-grasping, then we have to experience suffering.
원래 공대를 가래나 고충종이 가는 것이라 소리 가는 줄 알고 사진이 있는지가 가는 줄 알고 다 지금 지금 맞지라 지금 진짜 그냥 막 하고 다들 좋차 다들 그 맞하고 진짜 기랑난 거예요 야 저거지 지금 막 파도라고 코를 떼서 말쳐야 맞아 다들 뭐 중독적으로 대 야라 치에서 쓴 것들이 다다다 무슨 약한 많고 빠져 주는 거야. 만나면 되게요. 조차 세상 나를 차 나를 보여. 자. 어때지? 나디들은 말해봐. 또 말해봐 또 가려야 돼. 소주 세는 되지 이거지. 내로 남이 마시. 세 나가다 봐야 마시네. 나 서버들이 자공다고 원래 저희는 자공다고 농독 차요. 예를 들면 다 노화를 다 물랑 그래. 물이 될 남산 다 차. 나도 뺏자지고 나가 유고지 나가 가라고 보고서 나를 차니 때마다 딱 일을 장 딱그 보석에 저한테 싸움도 고치 못해요 차장은 아니겠어 내가 도차 해당 아직까지 차도 예수가 참고 예수가 강의서 말해봐 나오고 나만 안 되겠지 이렇게
This morning, some children were asking me questions, and they were asking really very nice, meaningful questions. One question was, when I get a present, when another child gets a present that I would like to have, then sometimes I get angry because I didn't get what I wanted, and the other child has it. So how can I overcome this anger? So that was the question asked. And the answer was that as long as we have, so first of all, that is self-grasping, that we want something for ourselves. And for as long as we have not rid ourselves from self-grasping, there is no end to suffering. It is this thinking of, this is mine, or I need something, I want food, or I want a present, I want to get something. That is the attachment. Then if we don't get what we want, then we get angry. And then when we see that somebody else has what we wanted, then we get jealous. So those small children were, now first it starts when we are really small children, and then that continues as we grow older. And that is why when we grow older, wars are happening, and by countries start fighting with each other. First there is attachment, then there is anger, and then there is jealousy. One is attached to the self. One thinks, I need something for myself. And that self-grasping has its roots in ignorance. It all comes from ignorance. It comes from not recognizing the true nature of one's mind, not recognizing one's own Buddha nature, which abides just like the space, just like the sky. Not recognizing it, we are attached to a self that makes our mind become very tense, like an ice block, like in water that is frozen. Our mind becomes very solid and very hardened from that self-grasping. And depending on that, we over and over again take an incarnation in the 6 types of transmigration. Now we have taken a human incarnation, and we are attached to that self. We think I need food, and I need clothes, and I need all types of things. We are attached to the self, and if we are attached to the self, we have an aversion against others. So these small children were asking something very meaningful, really. Because we are attached to ourselves, we have attachment to things that we want, we have anger, and then we experience jealousy. So where do these 3 poisons come from? They come from ignorance, which is the concept, the thought of self.
나는 내가 다 듣고 나는 진리 방송 제가 어제는 너무 지키고 내가 도저히 대화 듣고 요구하겠어. 도저히 대화 못하나? 대화가 쭉 강의 맞아. 덕치고 요구 말이지. 내가 쭉 강의 대화 줘야겠어. 덕치고 요구 말이지. 누구는 요구 요구 말이지. 누구는 누구 어디야? 누구는 좀 콩, 다 나는 내가 이해는 돼봐. 이런 너는 그렇지. 말안 못 쳤다. 여기 여기가 쪄야 빵치기로 말이야. 저쪽에 대화도 저쪽에 또 얘기하자. 저쪽 좀 그래요. 네, 저기 나만 봐. 이게 따다다 멍치기. 니 손좀 생기서 장마 짜쳐. 네. 오, 이와지 그거 하장 용용이 무슨 소리 좀 그. 밑에 용용이 봐. 사차 중종이 법장 용용이 맞다 그랬다. 미화지 또는 하장 용용이 소리som 때리는 거예요. 예를 들면 나사지 동네들이 어래 그렇다고 생긴 상태에 너무 와 나진지 저기 왔다 오래 그 가면 뭐지가 나지는 뭐지가 나지니까 저거 찍다네 너무 와 저거 찍다네 거기가 맞아 뭐지라 놓자요 제단요 또 놓지 먹고 또 먹고 지워라 자기 또 많이 참아요 이거 맞다고 어래 내 말이 속 내라는 나지는 맞잖아 이모 참아요 제 요구하는 속 요자 내자 그 관리 우리 여기는 나한테 좀 정신 괜찮습니다. 나지는 맞죠. 정신 그거 말이에요.
So also the Buddha has said that the sentient beings who all have strong self-grasping, what they want is happiness, and they are trying very hard to bring about their happiness. They are striving for their happiness. But even though they want to achieve happiness, they are ignorant of the causes that bring about happiness. The causes that bring about happiness are positive actions, virtuous actions. And even though no sentient beings wants to suffer, they do not know the causes to abandon their suffering. They think it is alright to harm others for one's own purpose. It is okay if I harm others if my purpose is accomplished. So they think that this will bring about their happiness. So they are ignorant of the causes that bring about happiness and the causes that bring about suffering. So even though they want to be happy, they are only creating more causes for their suffering. Now we can see the infinite amount of sentient beings that are inhabiting the lower realms. The very cause of being in the lower realms are those wrong strivings, and we see how little beings compared to lower realms are inhabiting the higher realms. That is because very little beings are engaging in virtuous actions. Very little beings actually are aware of the causes that bring about happiness. The Buddha has said there is an infinite amount of beings in the 6 types of transmigration, and they are afflicted. They have self-grasping, but its root, there is only one self-grasping. The Buddha has said the self-grasping of all sentient beings is one and the same. The self-grasping of a little insect and the self-grasping of a human being is one and the same. The afflictive emotions of them are one and the same. The little insect has self-grasping, it has attachment and anger and ignorance, and depending on strong ignorance it took rebirth as an insect. But all of the beings do possess the 5 afflictive emotions. So the afflictive emotions of all sentient beings are the same. And even beings who do not possess a body, who do not have a form, they still do have self-grasping, and they still have the afflictive emotions. So whether we are beings with body or without a body, and particle beings and so forth, we are experiencing great suffering. And for as long as we have not eliminated self-grasping, we have to experience suffering.
대략적인 딱 산지 종류들이 그러나 하다면서 네 고아도 쳤지 넘나들을 때나 마마 집제 다들 흘러지 마마 집제 다들 흘러지 정말 다다 레즈레즈 시소나 다다 비치는 소소 하는 거 하나 이럴 때는 마 다다 대화 대사 좀 내가 감지해 나 내가 가르쳐 야 마저 좀 대사도 세상 가면 제가 야 마마 좀 왔다 안 줘요. 그 앞으로 줘요. 아마 딱 말만 못 보고 와요 보면서 para tapele chabo yo ko to de dong ni ale ya ta ti ana ma che lo yo le ma lo yo che sa de ko ta so ta ta le ju ni so ta shi ni na de da to ha ma che de ta de lu le de da wo ta ma ha ko to sana somma ta che ta de la chi ta ma o so che ka che ko ta na ha ko lo dong ni jo ko che Garchen, Garchen, estamos casi por estamos mamona. Ya no vale mucho comentar.
So when the Buddha gave an introduction to this, he said that each sentient being should look at your own suffering that you are experiencing. If you would like to know what you have been in the past life, look at your body now, look at your life now. If somebody knows karma, then you can, if you're somebody who knows karma, then you can investigate and you think, so this life I have a little bit of happiness, I'm quite wealthy, and I have some money, so what could be the cause of that? The cause of that is that in the last life we have been generous or made many offerings, or we think, oh, in this life, whoever I come together with, all my relationships just don't work out, they are never harmonious. A result that is the result of in a previous life having accumulated sexual misconduct. So we can look very clearly. If you know karma, we can look very clearly at the present situation that we are in, and then see what we have done, what we have been in our past life. So if you want to know what you have been in your past, look at what you have now. And if you want to know what you will be in the future, look at your present actions. So if you know if you know karma, then you know which causes will bring about which results. So you think about those over and over again, and you will know, observing your own actions, what a future incarnation will be like. But if one does not understand that, if one does not think about that, then also one will not be able to recognize one's afflictive emotions.
계단다고 뒷방에 좁았다고 같았네 해서 요바 비용증 계단 너무 높다는 그 계단이 별로 계단을 해서 안 되는 거 소주바래 소주를 가르치 책으로 하는 게 소주바는 도착을 소주 봐요 그래 별로 생지 조자상 차도 도도 보다 빠빠 진지로 나타나지 대를 때는 소재를 요리했어. 대를 때는 차로 오는 소재를 요리했어. 야, 저기 배주 가다 막아 파텔라 좀 받았지. 원래 차로 오는 걸 소재를 요리했어. 야, 이제 나는 뭐 예쁜 거. 그러니까 어쨌든 좀 많이 봐. 소재를 미워해. 야, 소재보다 아버지 때문에 유목 독선 똑만 못 변하고 소재 받는 사람한테 나만 다 쳐요. 별세 진짜로 소재 받더라고요. 내가 소재 받아야 돼. 이거 파세요. 이거 파세요. 다 이게 무슨 당한 texto, mucho seco, algo sucio. Más avanzó un sabor. No me gusta ni se lo para. Socha este para. Su soy más ya de oro. Tengo ya sigo por la. Tengo ya sigo. Sigo la pena con nadie. In cada de soche para ya no cha de soche, ¿no? De la que está muy pasado. 帮忙过来，人家忙活，他吃啥了？当时下山了，看见他就没送到了吧？下山就在那里，哪怕他做了也是。他叫我们说，第二个忙活的话，出去了，他爬山了，呼噜呼噜，他这里， 这个啥子有一边呢？说句话到自己的。
And from within the 10 non-virtuous actions, anger is the worst negative action. It is said that there is no worse action than anger, and there is no greater asceticism than patience. Also from within the 5 negative emotions, afflictive emotions, the 5 poisons, the worst of them is anger. And then depending on anger, for example, we kill. There's different types of killing. For example, if we kill out of attachment, then we kill because we want the other's flesh, or we want the blood, we want the skin, or we want the hair, the fur. So we kill out of attachment. Then others kill out of jealousy, through not liking each other. They kill. Then others kill out of anger. One is killed at an untimely time without any independence. So even within killing, there is many different types of killing, motivated by the 3 or 5 other afflictive emotions. So if one does not know karma, for example, one kills a being and then one has killed that person or that being and then thinks, oh, now I have accomplished my goal, that's fine, I've accomplished what I wanted to do. But then that person dies, karma will come back, and it is said that for each time one kills, one will be killed, one will have to die in that way for 500 times. So whatever out of circumstance it may be, jealousy or attachment and so forth, we are killing. And when we are killing, then in the future life that will come back. For example, now when we are eating meat, there's many different reasons why we are eating meat, but mostly it is that in last life those have eaten us and now we eat them in this life. So this circle continuously turns. In last life one has been eaten, in the next life one is eaten in return. So that is an example of killing.
좀 뒤져줘라. 이 시발 좀 뭐만 좀 제발 좀 뒤라. 야그 뭐만 이 집에 돌아오지 와서 집 상에 올라.这些 내가 집 와봐. 또 그러니까 생기 속에 되는 시 사상으로 봐. 자다시로. 다 너와지. 돌아오지 와서 집 상에 올라. 这几百斤，这玩意儿用完就给他养家的养完了这，养这个就上，他没有在这个国家里弄是吧？就听着这个是。
So when we think about all those afflictive emotions, each one by one, when we think about, for example, the emotion of anger, it will need to be reborn in the hell realms as a fruitional result, where we will have to be killed over and over again for many aeons. For many years, we will stay in the hell realms. As a result of anger, we will be reborn in the hot hells. So Rinpoche asked you can read about those in details in the scriptures. So we are reborn in the hot hells as a result of anger. Now, when we now analyze our mind, do I have anger in my mind? We will see, we probably will find anger in our mind. Then we should think that, if I have anger in my mind, there is no doubt that I will be reborn in the hell realm. Because anger, if one has anger, it needs to be reborn in the hell realm. So there is no doubt. So therefore, I quickly must abandon anger. So that is the fruitional result of anger. We are reborn in the hell realms. And after we have exhausted those karmic results, the fruitional result, then we come to the next one, which is called the result which corresponds to the cause. That is when we again take another incarnation outside the hells. For example, small children, they're very angry. Suddenly, for no reason, they get very angry. Again, they get very angry. The root of this is self-grasping. Now, this will lead to be reborn, even if one attains an incarnation outside the hells. For example, as a flesh-eating animal, like a tiger or a leopard. One again takes an incarnation where one has the tendency to eat flesh and to drink blood. Again, one will have to enjoy flesh and blood. So there is the cause, which or the result which corresponds to the cause in terms of action. That means in that incarnation, again, we will perform the same actions. We will have a likening to again perform those same negative actions, like eating flesh and drinking blood. And then there is the one that we need to, the result that corresponds to the cause that we need to experience. Again, we will experience being reborn in the hell realms without any liberation.
Tiri namini yawa jukyu ata setar sepa no kasi geo unita mero chete an gewa geo mero chela ya mati hedam chimo ya petu to pachani no to ma tempa ya petu bela ya ko dumi pa ma ba nyong le kare ndo mu 소리 유기 시단지 마도 말에 제가 마대 빠져들게 놓게 좀 보여요. 제 빠져 요한 좀 있어. 매일见了 다다다게 맛이 많아요. 또 충분히고 제단을 하면 이제 고소를 비워야 오래. 제단은 차도 오래. 제단도 좀 보여요. 너무 와서를 제단 요래.
So as a fruitional result, one will be reborn in the hell realms, and as a result that corresponds to the cause, we will have an affinity to again do those actions, or again be of that inclination. So as a result of some other virtues that one has accumulated, even if one again takes a human body, gets an incarnation as a human body, then one is maybe a very angry human person. One is very angry, and one is always fighting with others, and one never is harmonious with friends. So one has to experience really inconceivable sufferings. And until we have completely exhausted all the causes, the seeds of anger, again we will have to experience those sufferings until we completely have eradicated all its causes. Then, for example, even if one takes an incarnation again after that exhaustion, then we can see in many small children they are very angry. Their nature is their character is very angry. And then if they are angry, anger leads to jealousy. So in this way, all the afflictive emotions are present. And if we gain a human incarnation through the power of virtuous actions, then we may, through the power of virtue, meet with a spiritual guide, with spiritual friends, and through the power of an aspirational prayer, again we'll obtain a human incarnation. But as a frictional result, but until the defilements, the afflictive emotions are not completely exhausted, again, over and over again, we will experience those results that also correspond to the causes. So these were the first two types of results, the frictional result and the result that corresponds to the cause. Then the third one is called the determining result. That is the taking rebirth over and over again without any independence at a certain place. For example, now when we see in this world, there is countries that are very peaceful, and there's countries where there is always war and where there is not much peace. So when one reaches this result, as a result of one's negative actions of anger, one will be reborn in a place with many wars and fights, and a place that is not very peaceful. And again, in that place one will be angry, and one will start fighting with others, and one will again start killing others and accumulate those actions. That is the third type of result. And then the fourth type of result is called the proliferating result. That means if we are accumulating, like we have said, one action of killing that multiplies into 500 times of receiving that in return. So that proliferating result multiplies the actions that we have accumulated. So we should think about those four types of results over and over again, and they should arouse fear of afflictive emotions in our mind. Because if we do not know about them, if we do not contemplate them, then also we will not have any fear of those afflictive emotions in our minds. And as a result of stinginess, one will be reborn in the realm of the hungry spirits. But now let's look at the afflictive emotion of anger one more time. It is the nature of anger. When one looks closely at the nature of anger, at that afflictive emotion, it is something that in an instant, as soon as it arises in somebody's mind, in an instant it will bring about suffering. When we see somebody, for example, that is usually, we think, very like a beautiful person with a very nice face, but when that person gets angry, then that whole face transforms, and we look at the person and it looks very ugly, that angry facial expression. So that is done by anger. The nature of anger is that it will make other people unhappy. Whoever sees a person who is angry or an angry facial expression will not like it. And that person who is angry sees everybody like an enemy, saying, I don't like this person and I don't like that person, and so forth. I'm not liking anybody, everybody will become just like an enemy. And if others look at that person, they will see, oh, that person has such an angry and ugly facial expression. And if a person who has understanding of this, like has strong love in his or her mind, sees a person that has great anger, we're saying, oh, that is the cause for being reborn in the hell realms. It is really the fault of afflictive emotion of anger. Through the power of anger, we will make everybody feel unhappy. If somebody enters somewhere, comes inside who is very angry, everybody would have a feeling, everybody would feel that. It would make people very unpleasant. So anger is harmful to others and it creates suffering for oneself. It is the cause for being reborn in the hell realms. So we need to look at the nature of anger and over again and again contemplate its faults.
靠就一大人我的不是这个不大的，但不是这不是种茶的，这个不是吧？现在就就结了这些。哦，别人一大的或者钱不用，啊，就别人的结了，那我的啊，找我的过结了吧？你把抽这个我请是不？你马当是吧？这个其他都写了吧？你通上能通讲讲一个不是，这场就上路上这场就大学前两年没什么了吧？哦，他这种的出品的吧，这容易在波上去，那个是吧？哦，他这种的波上去，平常出品是吧？其实咱中国没吧，生产不用紧，他不了啊。啊，我们这啊。
So depending on attachment, stinginess will arise, and depending on stinginess, we will be reborn as a hungry spirit. If we do not have any stinginess, and if we only have strong attachment, if we are only attached to things, but if we are not very stingy, then we will be reborn in the human realm. And if we are having attachment and we are very jealous, then we will be reborn in the jealous God realm, where there is constant fighting. And as a result of stinginess, one will be reborn as a hungry spirit. So, now, what is the nature of a hungry spirit? What is the nature of the suffering of stinginess? So the children may ask questions, how is it like having a very narrow throat or having a very big stomach? So this is the actual nature of mind. This is how we need to understand the nature of stinginess. For example, as a result corresponding to the cause, one also can again attain a rebirth like as a little insect. A little insect that bites one in the skin and is like thin, like a little thread, and bites one in the skin and drinks one's blood, and then just has to die because it's too full of blood. So that is corresponds a result that corresponds to the cause that needs to be reborn as an insect, but still with that mind of stinginess, like a hungry spirit. So we need to look at the nature of that afflictive emotion, the nature of stinginess. So we can also see that nature of it in the human realm. For example, a human person who has millions of dollars and still thinks, oh, I need more, I still need more, I still have not enough, has the thought of poverty, that thinking that I have nothing, I will have nothing. That is the nature of stinginess, or the nature of a hungry spirit. So when our physical form, our body has died, still the mind has not died. So as a result of stinginess, that will take a rebirth in the realm of the hungry spirits. Or if afflictive emotion of ignorance is overpowering, one takes on the form of an animal, where one also has that, and one has the aspect of stinginess, then one takes the rebirth with a very large body and experiences great suffering. So actually, real hungry spirits, they have no body, they have no form, but we are now looking at the nature of the mind, the nature of the mind of stinginess. Now, for example, we can see that in ourselves thinking, I need more shoes, or I need more clothes. We always need more, and we don't want to give anything away. We want to get more, and we want to not give anything of that away. And even when we die, we still think, oh, I have those things, I have this money, I have all those possessions, and then self-grasping becomes very strong, but those things are not here anymore. So this is the nature of stinginess. Look at the nature. However much one has, one will not be satisfied. It is never enough. That is the fault of stinginess. So when you contemplate that over and over again, you may recognize the nature of stinginess. The nature is non-satisfaction. However much one has, it is never enough. Oh yeah, continue. So ignorance is always accompanied by the fault of the other afflictive emotions. For example, we have strong attachment. Some people are attached to their houses, some are attached to their clothes or attached to any other things. When we, for example, always are attached to beautiful clothes, then as a result we will be reborn as like a butterfly who has the wings with really beautiful like drawings, like a really beautifully adorned. Or if we are very attached to our houses, then we will be reborn as, for example, a shell that is always carrying the house with together with like a snail. We can see little animals who always carry their house with them wherever they go. So you can observe the animal realm and see the variety of afflictive emotions that there are and the variety of outcomes of those afflictive emotions. If you examine each animal one by one, you see they all have a subtle difference in their outcome. So there is a great subtlety in karmic outcome. So if you then apply that to your own mind and investigate your own mind and watch your own mind, those afflictive emotions you will also recognize in your own mind, and then you need to purify your mind from them. or for example, a peacock who has this beautiful little the feathers, which have their pictures inside the feathers, and it looks very beautiful and majestic. That is also an attachment of previously maybe having too much attachment to beautiful clothing. Still, the peacock has the feeling of I'm wearing something really beautiful. I'm very my dress is very beautiful. So one is creating one's own karma.
맞아라 때문에 이모 뭐 좋지. 맞아 때서. 또 참아 파일을 보는데 그렇게 이제 맞죠 보통 파일을 찍는데 그래. 맞아 지는 파일을 찍어요. 그 파일을 찍지로 파일을 이나요. 플라그나 농에 좋아요. 같이 플라그는 플라그 빠지기 좋아요. 거래. 이 사람 다 번쩍이는 보통을 중에는 저당 망고 소나고 시점에는 인지가 체크이 되지. 나머지는 매일날 맞지. 지금은 다 보통을 중에는 플라 보통을 나머지는 맞지가 다 샤드 셔리 샤드는 보상 혹시 샤드는 제일 우리 자요. 계산은 고등은 옵션 가지를 갖고 올라. 그리고 나와 제도 이다를 제도 이와 간도 특별하다. 느끼기는 그 지간에 동의 치고서 대부분 거를 로아를 좀 동의를 놓고 가도 소리가 안 되고 이용과 가려다 없다. 이게 뭐지? 제 장단이 이게 무슨 거예요? 그 동심으로라.
And depending on pride, we will be reborn in the God realm. Some think, I will be generous, and it's okay if I will be reborn in the God realm. Of course, in the God realm, we are experiencing great happiness and abundance of enjoyments. But still, there is suffering to be found in the God realms. First of all, there is some poor gods. And then secondly, the special feature of God's suffering is that they suffer the suffering of change and the suffering of falling into the lower realms. They are experiencing a long life of great happiness, but then suddenly that changes and they undergo the suffering of change when they hear that they are going to die. They are dying within a duration of 7 God days. And at that time, it is determined whether they will fall into hell realms or hungry spirit realms. So there is great suffering, but you can read about those in great detail in the scriptures. You can read very clearly about each of the afflictive emotions and then apply accordingly their antidotes. So over and over, again and again, remind yourselves of them. This is really very important.
사지 좀 얘기했더니 총부부터 지어주더라. 총부부 지어주네. 네, 문지 삼아제고. 총부부 그렇게 지어. 총부부를 그렇게네. 잠시는 나올래 보지. 저기는 보고. 그래 아마 공마 나와라. 아마 처음하고 준직들이. 공 많이 쳐봤자 많이 보러. 하다지 아무나 보고지들이 담는 소리고 저시 시송으로 시송으로 나와지 소리가 나와지 나와 따져 보러지 많이 보러 똑같이가 마 동료들이 뭐 따져 보러 나와 따져 보러지 소리가 나와 따져 보러지 가면 공부 공부 다 사족 상태에서 요가 진행을 오치고 지금 이 참아 뭘 따져 보고 되게 같이 진짜 그거래. 그리고 야완데 저 신진도 다 같이 이제 저 동의 이제 같이 참가하는 거 보고서 자포로 나타나서 야완데 다시 좀 이거
자기 걸로 나타나기
예, 자포로 저도 함이 거 자포로 이제 속했지. 뭘 말아서 내가 속을 때 그거를 그러니까 힘이요. 전체만 걸고 딱 봐도 나타나서 봐. 이제 참아 깨 그거를 사들이 내 공통의 이라는 게 미리다 인지에서 이핑을 얻지만 사도 이거 자기 보는 나타나 봐. 이 나디 미로 보면 이제 내가 잘 먹어. 이핑을 얻지. 대바타도 타수는 사도 이게 뭐지? 이핑을 얻지. 그냥 내가 핑이 올려서 이 사람이 동네가 나타나는 간지 동네가 내 아버지와 남자마다 남자 이유가 이거
Matapa jiwa, nape taka jiwa,
아마 좀 인정하면서 주시 공략을 기회가
And there have been stories from the previous incarnations of the Buddha before he attained enlightenment of how an instant of bodhicitta, love and compassion can benefit beings even if one is reborn in one of the three lower realms. Depending on a karma, that an action that the Buddha has created in a previous life before he was the Buddha, he was reborn in the hell realm. Before he was reborn in the hell realm, he was like a trader, and he was about to go out on the ocean with a ship and his mother to get jewels, and his mother told him not to go with the ship because he might die, the ship may sink. And then he started fighting with the mother, and he beat the mother on the head, and he left and he went to the ship, and the ship actually really sank. It went down, and then after he died, he was reborn in the hell realm. And because he was, as a result of hitting his mother on the head in the hell realm, he was reborn having like an iron wheel on his head, which was churning and turning and creating great pain in his brains. So he was experiencing this suffering, and he was accompanied by many other sentient beings who had to experience the same suffering. And because he had some bodhicitta and the wish to benefit others, he heard the cries and saw the suffering of other sentient beings, and he had compassion. Compassion arose in his mind, and he thought, oh, may I be their representative, may the suffering, may I experience their suffering, and may they be liberated. And then in that instant, he was liberated. That wheel of the iron wheel flew into the sky, into space, and instantaneously he was liberated. So this is to show that even an instant of bodhicitta can be of great benefit. This was one story of, there have been stories of the Buddha having 500 impure previous rebirths and 500 pure rebirths.
신수도 받으면 세부대로 건조 나오고 나가요. 세부대로 건조 다음에 하고 얘 맞도라. 마보다 나사보다 얘를 신수도 받. 예, 신수도 받 마는 차단도 봐요. 얘는 유목을 봐. 나를 차단도 받아야 유목을 봐. 유목을 내서 하냐고 하더라. 내 도와를 놓고 사카를 너무 좋아하는 게 나오는 거 그거 좋아. 내도 봐. 내도 봤더니 나를 민감하다 내가 다 무슨 잘 내가 신세도 봐. 유목을 봐. 내도 봐. 박차도 봐. 나 박차를 날 민들다. 노화를 놓고 민들 박차. 박차도 박차. 또 박차도 무슨 많은 차이라.
So in brief, we have obscurations and negativities. And what is it that is obscured? It is the nature of our mind that is obscured. We have 4 obscurations. First of all, the obscurations to recognizing the nature of the mind. We